7 years ago, a very stupid bartender used to work at this bar right behind me. And in this incident, a 5-minute phone call to the police could have quite possibly prevented a mass murder in which 8 innocent people's lives were taken. I'm Lamont at large today. We're in Plano, Texas. We're going to discuss the story as quickly as I can. You be the judge. You let me know in the comments. Am I right? Am I wrong? Let's talk about the curious case of one Lindsey Glass, a bartender whose inactions were the catalyst in a mass murder. The summer of 2015 was pretty stressful for one 27-year-old Meredith Height. At the time, she had been married to Spencer Height, 32 years of age, for about 4 years. Now, in the beginning, like most relationships start, everything is good. You meet a guy, you meet a girl, they're cute, they're good looking, they're funny. Whatever it is about them that you like, you end up wanting to be more serious with them. You start a relationship and some of them get married. And that's what happened in this case right here. However, Meredith didn't know, like some people know, that when you get into relationships with people, you don't really know truly what you're getting into until it's too late. Now, Meredith's parents, they thought that Spencer at first was a great guy. He's taking care of their daughter. Their daughter loves him, and they seen a future with this guy, with their daughter, maybe having kids, so forth and so on. But little did they know that during the relationship that Spencer's inner demons would come out. And those demons were from a bottle of booze that he would pour into a shot glass and drink himself into oblivion. And that summer of 2015, the Heights had just bought a house not very far from here. I want to say maybe about 4 or 5 blocks away. And at this time now, Spencer's drinking is getting out of control. So much, in fact, that he loses his job working at Texas Instruments. So he can't get a job because he can't control his drinking. And Meredith, who is working over in Fort Worth at Coca-Cola, she's paying the bills all by herself. All by herself. Now, Meredith's parents started noticing that there was trouble in the marriage between their daughter and Spencer when they would go to their daughter's house. And it just seemed like every time Spencer would either already be in his room or he would quickly retreat into his room. And they didn't know that while he was in his room, he would be drinking himself into oblivion, sitting in front of his computer on the internet. Now, Meredith's parents also didn't know that during their tumultuous marriage that there was some violence involved. One time, Spencer had took his hand and slammed Meredith's head against the wall. Now, at this point now, it's been going on 6 years that they've been married. Started off great, and it is quickly spiraling down out of control, and Meredith no longer wants any part of this marriage. So she would go on to file for divorce. And after the filing of the divorce papers, she would tell her parents what was going on, how he was drinking himself out of control, so forth and so on. So he moves out of the house and he gets his own place. And Spencer is pissed. He's pissed off that he had to leave, not only leave his house, but that his wife doesn't want anything to do with him anymore. And some people in this situation, they realize that they have a problem and they're gonna do what they can to fix the situation because they love their wives or they love their husbands. But Spencer was a selfish bastard who only cared about himself and himself only. So we're gonna go to September 10th, 2017. Now this bar, it used to be a business called the Local Public House. And this was Spencer's and Meredith's hangout at a time. So on that day, working is one bartender, Lindsey Glass. Now, Spencer comes in here and it's about 2:40 p.m. and Spencer, he's already pre-lit, as I like to call it. He's already been drinking a little bit. So he comes into this bar and he's sitting at the bar and he's talking to Lindsey, and he takes out this big knife and he starts like playing like spin the bottle, but with the knife. He's just spinning it on the counter. And Lindsey's getting a little bit creeped out. You know, she's noticing that this guy has probably had too much to drink, but she keeps serving him anyways. So he would have a couple gin and tonics, and then he would go on to leave. Now, he would come back later on, 4 hours later, and he orders a couple other beers, and he orders a shot of lemon vodka. Now, at this time, Lindsey believes that this guy, when he left, he probably went home and was drinking even more, because when he came back, he was even more inebriated than before. Now, this guy is so drunk that he's like walking sideways, he's stumbling into tables and chairs. Now, this is the point where, as a bartender, because a lot of bartenders take classes in scenarios such as this is when you cut him off. This is when you say, hey, Spencer, you've had too much to drink. You're pulling out knives on the bar, and you're creeping me out, so it's time to leave. But Lindsey, she didn't do that because Spencer was, you know, she was actually friends with Meredith, so she knew Spencer. Maybe she didn't want to seem like she was being the B word, whatever the case might be. So she continues to serve him throughout the evening. So at this time now, Lindsey's getting really, really concerned, and she text messages a bartender that was off at the time named Timothy Banks. And she basically tells Timothy that this guy's acting, he's obviously drunk, he's acting weird. He seems to be out of control, and he's gonna make his way over here to figure things out. So while he's coming over here, Spencer tells Lindsey that he has, quote unquote, some dirty work to do, whatever that means. He has some dirty work to do, and by the time Timothy comes to this place, Spencer's like, he's pretty lit. And Timothy and Spencer, I believe they were either acquaintances or they were friends. So by the time he comes back over here, this guy is blitzkrieg. So they come out to this patio right here, and they notice that Spencer has a gun on him, right? So Timothy, he's talking to Spencer, and he's telling him, he's like, man, look at you, man. You're freaking drunk. You're falling out all over the place. What the hell is wrong with you? And Spencer tells Timothy that I have to be this drunk for what I'm about to do. Now, when you say something like that, as a bartender, you're probably gonna wanna call the police. Bare minimum, at least force the police to come over here and not allow him to leave in his car. Remember, when you're a bartender in a lot of states, I'm guessing all of them, you're kind of responsible for serving people, cutting them off, and making sure that, you know, you try your best that they don't drive away drunk or whatever so they can get out on these roads and hurt somebody. So at this time now, Spencer falls backwards onto the ground. He's completely drunk. So Timothy sits him up, and at this time now, one of the bartenders, I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head which one, but I believe it was Timothy, who called the owner of this bar, Jerry Owens, who I'm sure owns other bars and restaurants in the area. And he says, hey, we have a regular here. He's drunk. He's saying weird things. He's trying to get into his car. He's armed. Should I call the police? Now, that guy should not have called the owner to confirm with him whether he should call the police or not. No, you be a grown adult, you be a man, and you call the police, right? And you already know, being friends with this guy, or at least bare minimum, you know that he's going through a bad separation, and you know he has a drinking problem. You're probably thinking, okay, this guy's going to do something stupid. He's at least going to go down the street and kind of threaten her or try to beat her up or pull out the gun. Whatever it is that you think that he might do to her, your concern right now is getting this guy off the streets, and your concern should be for Meredith. But the owner supposedly told him, don't call the police. Don't call the police. Nah, just don't call the police. Okay, so they let him go. They let him go. Spencer Height gets into his car and he drives less than half a mile down the street. And down the street, Meredith is having a football party with her and 8 of her friends. They allow Spencer to leave the bar. He comes down this street. He's drunk. And he is armed with an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle, a shotgun, and a .380 caliber pistol. He comes to this home right here, 1712 Spring Creek Parkway, and at this time, Meredith is having a football watch party with a bunch of her friends. So he comes into this home right here, and they're having their shindig in I think the backyard of this home. 10 minutes later, multiple neighbors hear just a volley of gunshots. Pop, 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 pop. Something is going on. So they called 911, and Plano police arrive here with lights and sirens. And as they pull up to this home, they could hear in that backyard right there, over that fence, they can hear that somebody is shooting a gun. So one of the Plano police officers approaches from the alley, and he encounters Spencer Height. He immediately, I don't know if he told them drop your weapon or he just shot him. I would have just shot him. If I see a guy and I see bodies all over the backyard, I'm just gonna shoot you. So he shoots and kills Spencer Height. And when it's all said and done, 8 people in this home right here would lose their lives. Meredith Height, 27, Anthony Cross, 23, Olivia Defner, 24, James Dunlop, 29, Daryl Hawkins, 22, Ryan Morgan, 31, Maya Bass, 28, and Caleb Edwards, 25 years of age, all shot and killed by a drunken psychopath at this very home. So by now, you have 8 people behind me dead, and the bartenders, Timothy Banks and Lindsey Glass, they make their way down the street, and they see probably 20 cop cars, crime scene tape, 5-10 paramedic trucks, and they quickly realize that what has taken place. So Lindsey discovers that 8 people were killed by Spencer Height. And she tells one of the police officers at the scene, I'm not going to quote her word for word, but she basically says, so because of my inaction and what I knew in my heart to do, which would have been to call the police to prevent him from leaving, 8 people lost their lives. Yeah, they did. Definitely, they were murdered. Now, one survivor, shockingly enough, one woman, Carla Shockey, she survived that brutal massacre. So she would go on to sue Jerry Owens, the owner of the bar where stupid Lindsey Glass and dumb Timothy Banks served Spencer Height into oblivion. So she would win an $85 million settlement from the court. However, she probably, I don't know if she ever collected anything. And Jerry Owens who owns the place, he agreed by the commission that oversees alcoholic sales and licenses in Texas. I guess they're called the TABC. He agreed for that location to give up its liquor license. Now, he still has several liquor licenses in his name, I'm sure, but not that one. And I'm not sure if he would ever be allowed to get a new one, but they didn't take away his liquor licenses. So you fast forward about, I want to say about a year and a half after the murders. So Lindsey Glass was arrested and charged with, I'm not exactly sure the charge, but it was basically being the person that served him the alcohol in which he went to go do that. However, a jury declined to indict her. So she gets to live her life knowing that she should have called the police, but she just didn't. It wasn't a big deal to her at the time. So I don't know why it's a big deal now. And because people are stupid, and I don't like stupid people. I'm not saying I'm intelligent or smart, nothing of the kind, but I really don't care about stupid people. So later on, somebody had started a GoFundMe. Now, you're probably asking for who? Well, for Lindsey Glass, of course. Why not? Start a GoFundMe for the person who has some culpability in the destruction and carnage and chaos that happened behind me over there. And the reason for the GoFundMe was because, well, she's been, quote unquote, she's been through hell. She's the bartender, Lindsey Glass. She's the one that has been through hell. I would disagree. I know Lindsey Glass feels terrible, and she will go to her deathbed feeling ultimate regret, and I don't deny that at all. I don't deny that. But if there's a living hell that somebody went through, I think being shot at and ultimately dying would be the living hell. The feeling of being trapped in a backyard as some guy is with a rifle just firing at you, as brief as it was, hopefully, I believe that was the living hell. I believe being a mother and a father and getting a call from the police saying, are you the mother or father of so-and-so? Are you the father of Meredith Height? I want to say that's the living hell. Not doing your job and having regret for not calling the police. I don't believe that's a living hell. But the GoFundMe, hey, the goal was only $4,000. It was just to, maybe pay off a credit card bill, maybe pay her rent. But it only made about $860 as I read in the article. So, and it all started right here. And she could have called the police, and she chose not to. So I don't know where she's at today. I don't know what she's doing, because I didn't really care to look her up. Even if I did, I wouldn't. There's no point now. What's done is done, and we sadly cannot go back in the past and change it. Trust me, if I could, I would have. Well, I really would have only changed one thing in my life, just one regret. Absolutely incredible. Who's to say that Spencer would not have eventually killed Meredith on a different day, but you would have saved the lives of bare minimum several people, and who knows, he might have got the help that he needed. Too late for that now. I'll catch up with you on the next one. Peace out.